There has been a much talked about clear out, you know, and Manchester United, and so many players, looking to leave the club, and others being told by the club to find clubs for themselves and all of that. So, I mean, I've talked about a couple of transfers. I've talked about a couple of breaking news. I've talked about some players that needed to be moved on, and some that have kind of had some kind of agreement with other clubs. But Rúben Amorim has always wanted something for his club, for his team, for his squad. He has always wanted to talk about to kind of imagine how his squad will look like in the future. And obviously, everybody's expecting that to happen with this Manchester United squad. And to an extent, some of the players in the squad, as opined by fans, are not fit for purpose. Some of them have not, stepped up to the plate. Others have stepped up, but kind of the jury's still out on them. They've had injuries and all of that. And we could go on and on talking about how these players could have helped the squad. But, we moved in a whole new direction, a different direction, as we got the manager in Rúben Amorim. And right now we're in a place where we need to build for the future, and we're beyond just getting players for the now, even though some of the signings we're going for now are for the now, but to also help build at least for the next 4 to 5 years. And we don't want a situation where we're going to get players who are just going to, be in the squad and not make any particular impact in the squad. So Manchester United is embarking on a massive clear-out, and Laurie Whitwell, one of the top-tier journalists, talked about it, that Man United say that Rashford, this is on X, Rashford, Antony, Garnacho, Sancho, Malacia have told the club that they wish to explore a future away. So their return date is being delayed until later in July. And then, all the other breaking news we're going to talk about and all of that. But then it is, sad to see that these players didn't really turn up for Manchester United when needed. Some due to character and behavior, others due to injuries, and the rest just unable to just measure up, and then not finding a place in the squad for them. So obviously Manchester United had agreed to delay the returns of these 5 players that I mentioned: Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, Antony, and Tyrell Malacia, after all the players asked to leave the club this summer. As multiple reports have revealed, United are due back in training on Monday, which is today as of the time of recording. And recent reports claim that Rashford, who has returned from loan with Aston Villa, was among those planning to link up with the Red Devils for the first day of pre-season. Now, the Athletic, among others, have confirmed that it's not the case, and the group of players have all been granted time away to find new clubs. Now, Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Antony, and Malacia are all said to have vocalized a desire to leave Old Trafford this summer, so they'll be given extra time to address their futures, and with new return dates for the group penciled in for later in this month. Daily Mail also can add that United have stressed their willingness to welcome any of the group back later this month if they find themselves unable to secure an exit. Now, obviously for Manchester United, we all know that selling players is a priority. Manchester United have long made it clear that to buyers that this group of players are all available for the right price. Rashford has interest from both Bayern Munich and Barcelona, but is keen to join Barcelona, and his cause may have been boosted by Athletic Club's winger Nico Williams' decision to snub a move to Catalonia. So let's talk about Rashford. Rashford, 2 seasons ago, 23-24 season, he had a banging season, like literally 30 goals and all of that, and was doing really well. He was coming to his peak. He was 26 at the time, just enjoying his football, scoring goals. Even when he would have bad games, he would score goals. Now, he failed to repeat the same feat last season, albeit due to so many factors. But then his application, the media, I talked about it, like the media were not helping Marcus Rashford as well, the English media and all of that. So many things were playing roles in, making sure that, Rashford doesn't, achieve or hit, his heights. But also the onus is on him as a player to actually know how to play within those limits or play outside those limits of what the media bias might have been for Marcus Rashford. Now, he went to Aston Villa on loan. We all know that one. And in truth, it would have, been a successful one, but Aston Villa are not in a financial situation to be able to buy Marcus Rashford for 40 million. And that would be pure profit. And then Manchester United are struggling to sell the player. And then obviously he's favoring a move to Barcelona. And there's a whole lot of situations with that Barcelona. And you could say, okay, maybe if he goes there, all his troubles will be over. But it's not confirmed that his troubles will be over, because Barcelona are also finding it hard to register players. And then they were also going for Nico Williams. And lo and behold, Nico Williams is not going to go to Barcelona because he's not guaranteed playing time. He's not also guaranteed that he'll be registered. And he wanted to link up with Lamine Yamal. So obviously he signed a deal and extended his contract to, I think, about 10 years or something. I think he's going to be leaving Athletic Club, I think 2033. Or his contract will end in 2033. So he's kind of playing like for his childhood club, right? And then obviously, which now opens the door for Marcus Rashford to move to Barcelona. So there are so many things. Just to give a bit of an update on the Marcus Rashford situation. Now, basically, there's this news that Barcelona have made Marcus Rashford decisions as Man United's stance is revealed. The latest twist to Marcus Rashford's transfer saga leaves his future even in more uncertain terms than before. So basically, his prospects of moving to Barcelona have supposedly suffered a blow at the same time as a new report claims that Manchester United never asked to leave his boyhood club. So, yeah, we're having back and forth already. Marcus Rashford has been left in something of a transfer limbo this summer after impressing on loan with Aston Villa in the second half of the 24-25 camp season. Unai Emery's side opted against triggering a £40 million buy option to make the move permanent. The England international has spent much of the subsequent off-season heavily hinting at desired move to Barcelona. A future at Manchester United, the club Rashford joined at age 7, but where he fell out of favour after clashing with incoming head coach Rúben Amorim seems unlikely. Numerous outlets were briefed that Marcus Rashford was one of the 5 players who have requested a transfer this summer. He's not expected to be part of the pre-season training squad, which gathers on Monday. However, English journalist Henry Winter claims that Rashford has not asked to leave Manchester United. Winter goes on to explain that the 27-year-old accepts he will not be afforded any regular minutes at Old Trafford in the coming campaign, and so he has to leave to stake his claim for a spot in Thomas Tuchel's England squad and the next summer's World Cup. Now, many had expected Rashford's next destination to be in Barcelona, but the Mancunian forward even publicly admitted that he was hopeful of playing alongside Catalan club superstar player Lamine Yamal. Now, Barcelona sporting director Deco has dramatically cooled on the idea of recruiting Rashford. AS claim that the United player is said to be off the agenda in Catalonia, with the chances of him arriving at Camp Nou being slim. Now, the justification of this shift in stance less than 6 weeks ago, Deco explicitly named Rashford as a player Barcelona liked, in the preference for Liverpool forward Luis Diaz, obviously. Now, the Colombian international is deemed to be more versatile, more experienced, and more willing to sacrifice himself for the good of the team than Rashford. So it remains to be seen if Barcelona have the funds to price Diaz away from Liverpool, who are reportedly adamant that their fleet-footed forward is not for sale, right? The Catalan giants will also have access to the resources that they had set aside for Nico Williams after the Spanish winger sensationally snubbed a much-billed transfer to remain at Athletic Club. Now, what lies ahead for Rashford is also mired in uncertainty. Matheus Cunha has also, been signed, and obviously we all know the news that he has reportedly been handed the number 10 shirt at Man United. There's also a speculative interest in Marcus Rashford by Bayern Munich, because obviously Leroy Sané has been sold to the Turkish league. So it's a whole lot of back and forth on this whole Rashford situation. So that's it about Marcus Rashford. We spent about 2-3 minutes talking about him. The next player on the list is Jadon Sancho. Now, Jadon Sancho's situation is also a dire situation because I'm trying to understand what the player is thinking, because for a player like Jadon Sancho, a lot of players will want to be in his shoes where they have the opportunity to be able to go and play for a club like Manchester United and show what they're made of. But to do all the shenanigans he's been doing, I mean, this channel has stated out, most of the things he's been saying and all of that. He failed to agree terms with Chelsea, obviously, after a season-long loan, and he's also reported to be in talks with Juventus. Obviously, there's also the thing where Juventus were going to do a trade for Douglas Luiz versus, giving us Douglas Luiz versus us giving them Jadon Sancho. But, fellow Serie A outfit Napoli, also long-term admirers of Sancho and Garnacho, have also been credited with interest for Sancho. So it is also a big problem. Now we can't get Sancho off the books, and he's mooted to be going for £25 million, which can be counted as a loss. And for me, I think Sancho was a flop at Manchester United. It fills me with so much sadness to say this about the player, but he's been a flop at Man United, and the truth is he didn't work out at all. And you guys, I know the last video I released, we talked about it in at length. Basically, it just didn't work out with other managers, but it is what it is. We have to move on. And then for Garnacho, it's a whole lot of antics, the issue with his brother on social media, and all the leaks and everything in between, allegedly, of course, but everything in between, even all those subtle jabs and stuff, for Jadon Sancho. But it is what it is. He's going to leave, but we don't know. There's an interest between Chelsea and there's an interest by Chelsea for Sancho, and they're also thinking about doing an exchange for Christopher Nkunku. But it is what it is. We gotta, let it go, and we gotta, keep it going and stuff. But Manchester United cannot go for Nkunku because obviously I believe that he is injury prone, very injury prone, and we have a player in Xerxes, and Nkunku is kind of like the kind of player that can play as a false nine and as well as a 9, but we need a 9 for the now who can actually rival Rasmus Højlund, because if Nkunku comes and he goes on injury, then Rasmus Højlund still gets a field day, when Rasmus Højlund should be, be under pressure to deliver when other strikers are delivering. So that is all about Alejandro Garnacho. Napoli were interested at some point. We don't know who else is interested apart from Napoli and Chelsea and all of that. And then obviously Real Betis are also negotiating a reunion with Antony, and that one he at some point he was willing to take a pay cut. And then there's also news that Man United were even planning to sell him at a cut price and all of that. So there's a whole lot of news with regards to that. For Antony's latest news on Antony, we're just going to try to grab as much. Man United might lower Antony asking price with transfers speculations and complications persisting. His uncertain future is yet to be resolved, but Man United have delayed his return in pre-season, as said earlier. Now, they have reportedly lowered the asking price for Antony, but the permanent transfer to Real Betis following a successful loan is still far from formality. After falling out with Erik ten Hag and failing to reassert himself once Rúben Amorim was appointed head coach at Old Trafford, Antony resurrected his career during his whirlwind few months at Real Betis. His 14 goals and assists in half a season left a lasting impression, but Antony, along with other players, have been granted extra time, and Manchester United's asking price for the second most expensive signing in history has dropped from to around 35 million euros, which is about 30 million pounds. And according to Sport, even so, the operation remains more complicated than ever because Betis cannot afford to match Antony's existing wages. With strict salary cap rules and spending limits in La Liga, something Barcelona continue to battle, Betis are understandably reluctant to overstretch in the market. So that's pretty much the complication around Antony, and I hope he gets to find a club. And the unique thing about all these players is that they can play as as wing backs, but they don't want to play as wing backs. And we've moved away from having wingers. They're all wingers except for Tyrell Malacia. So we've talked about Sancho, we've talked about Garnacho, we've talked about Antony, we've talked about Rashford, and the last person on our list is Tyrell Malacia. Now, Tyrell Malacia's story is one that I could, kind of sympathize with, because he's the kind of player that obviously everybody, really wanted him to succeed. I mean, a player we signed. I mean, all the other players I've mentioned. Rashford, homegrown player. Sancho, too expensive. 70-something million pounds. And then Antony, too expensive, 70-something to 80 million pounds. And then we have Garnacho, academy player. And then we have, so these ones are kind of pretty expensive. But Tyrell Malacia's own was obviously a player we signed for £12 million, and we signed him from I think it was from the Dutch league. So it's escaping my mind right now. But we signed him, and obviously Tyrell Malacia struggled with a lot of injuries. He struggled with not a lot, but he struggled with one injury that really took him out for more than 18 months. And I can understand it's a knee injury. Or probably an ACL injury that took him out for a whole season, and for him to be able to come back was really hard. And we missed him for a whole season under Ten Hag, his second season under Ten Hag. And then on his third season, he returned from the injury, and it was like, nah, man. So Malacia on the hunt for a new club after seeing his PSV Eindhoven declined to trigger a purchase option in their loan deal last season. So he did well, but he's not there yet. He's still not in full fitness, not in full range of running. Rúben Amorim tried to use him as wing back a couple of times until we sent him on loan in January. And then he won the league with PSV Eindhoven, played in the Champions League, got through to, I think, the quarterfinal stage, and then it crashed out. And there was rumors that fans were also not happy with him. The Dutch fans were not happy with him and all of that. So there's a whole lot, and I feel so bad for Tyrell Malacia, but is 13 million pounds that only worked out for one season, and then it just didn't work out anymore. And those types of injuries, once you get them, it's always hard to come back. So Tyrell Malacia's situation, I can understand, and I hope he finds a club. I think one of the clubs in the Dutch league will get him, and we get him. I mean, even as a squad player, it will be good, because obviously we're now super overloaded at the left wing back position. We have already 3 solid left wing backs. We have Harry Mas, we have Patrick Dogu, and we have Diego Leon, which I'll talk about in the next video. We've already done a player profile. Go watch that, you'll see. And then we have, on the right side, we have a lot of like right wing wingers or right wing backs. So everybody's rivaling him in that position. So the best bet for him will be to leave. So yeah, it is what it is. You just have to accept the situation that you're in and move on. So for Tyrell Malacia, I hope he gets a new club. And that's it basically for all the players we had to mention. I just hope that they get a new club. I don't want any further drama. I'm already hearing with Harry Winter talking about, Rashford not asking to leave. But that's the club saying, obviously, you guys can go find clubs for yourself. Even though he didn't ask to leave, but he might have to leave, right? So it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts and feelings about all of this. We've flogged it, but we just had to, and it's a massive clear out. It's a massive clear out for Man United, much needed clear out. But then it is what it is. We have to just kind of, create space in the squad to build a very solid, resilient squad. We don't play with wingers anymore. We play wing backs, and wingers had to, change their game to fit the pattern. And if these 5 players are let go, that's 5 spaces to fill, and that's a lot more money. We're talking if each of them, an average of 40 million for each of them. Basically, say for example, Malacia obviously 10 million, Antony 40 million, Jadon Sancho 25 million, Rashford 40 million. And then Alejandro Garnacho 70 million. Well, that's good enough money to sign players. At least with 5 of them gone, we can sign 3 good players: 1 midfielder, 1 striker, and one attacking midfielder. So at least Bryan Mbeumo is rumored to be going to be wrapped up by the end of Monday. But let's see how that goes. But yeah, we look forward to the players returning. But let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Let's continue to build, and thank you so much for helping us continue to hit the milestones on the channel. We're growing as a community, and we'll continue to grow. Thank you so much for subscribing, and for those who have sent in kind comments in some of our videos, I really appreciate you. I see you. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your encouragement. It keeps us going and keeps us, moving as a team, as a community. So thank you so much. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please, if you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. Thank you kindly, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.